Welcome back to the GoTo Food Podcast, brought to you by Deli. Deli is a food platform from the team behind Depop that sell the best independent food and drink products in the world that other shops don't really know about. Head to www.deli.market and discover the thousands of creative products dropping daily and use the code GoToDeli. That's Deli with double L, is it, Ben?
I think it's got double L's, yeah.
For 25% off everything from us. Now, while we're really here, and today we're joined by a wonderful man who sort of sends futters down many a follower's heart. Chef, one of the OG mob crew, and a man who Ben Lepet, great friend of the show, said was the greatest food writer in the country, the wonderful Jordon King. Jordon, I asked Ben, so I'll ask you, being such an icon, you must have got some weird messages from your hundreds of thousands of followers in your DMs. What's the weirdest one you've got?
Ooh, the weirdest one, and I can back this up, verification. It was a couple of months after I started at Mob, and I had an unsolicited DM, someone that I'd never spoken to, never interacted with. I don't even know if she followed me. And I was in we have like the studio kitchen, right, where we film everything, and then we've got the staff kitchen where, you know, we hang out and everyone from the office makes a coffee and whatever. In the office kitchen, and there was about 5 or 6 of us standing around, and I had a photo sent to me by DM from this account, and I opened it and it's just a full frontal nude.
Really?
No caption, no message, nothing.
Not even a thank you for your wonderful food?
No, nothing. Not like a nice one.
Thank you, isn't it?
Nice
yeah,
one for the recipe.
Many ways. Yeah.
No, just a full,
Head and face included?
Everything. Yeah, everything. I didn't reply.
No. Probably right, you say.
But
that's a lot better than Ben's. Ben got like a weird Christmas present or something, didn't he? I can't remember what he said.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Oh, it's so good. I didn't know about it until I listened to this.
Oh, really?
Until I listened to him on here, and then I messaged him and I was like, "What the fuck, bro?"
Yeah.
Like, what?
Mob must think we're quite weird. We start every interview with a mob person asking about their weird DMs.
The weird DMs.
Yeah.
But one thing which isn't weird is obviously this wonderful deli bag which Ben Benton has put together for you. We're calling this Deli Steady Cook. We're going to give you your bag. Ben's going to take you through what's in there. And at the end, you got to tell us what you'd create with some of the ingredients in there.
Okay, sounds good.
It's a bit of it's just a bit of fun, you know?
Do you think they'll get Deli Ali to do Deli?
No,
just.
I hope you're listening, Deli.
You can have that.
Yeah.
That's yours, Deli.
Yeah.
So, I haven't used much imagination here.
Oh, good. Okay.
I just got some really nice, like, Italian bits. You're Italian, right?
I've got some Italian family. Yeah,
Italian enough. You've been to Italy.
I'm not. I love those.
I
love those Americans who are like, you know, they're like great grandma's sister's dog with Italian, so they introduce themselves as Italian, like full on, like wow.
And Irish as well, like the American Irish.
They're one or the other, right?
Yeah. So I don't know what.
I actually just thought of another weird DM. I mean, the full frontal nude was just like extreme.
Go and hit it with us.
I had another one, and I do feel bad. Like I don't want to chat shit about anyone, but it was a company that, again, really early Mob days, and they offered me a plug-in electric heated butter dish.
Interesting.
So
your butter's always at sort of room temp, or what?
Is that the theory?
Whereas I would have assumed that by leaving it at room temp,
It's at room temp.
Would be at
and if
room
anything,
temp.
you might want to cool it in the summer.
Right. But this was a plug-in electric. Yeah, I'm just thinking back
That
to
is
those.
odd.
I was thinking maybe that company didn't.
It's kind of like an Alan Partridge idea.
Right?
Yeah,
I thought it was a joke. I really did think it wasn't real, and I think it was.
So what I've done here, Jordan.
Talk to me.
I got this weird stuff. I shouldn't say weird because it's like someone's business.
Someone's life work.
Pepe's Palm. It's absolutely delicious.
Is it?
It's like a nutty, nutritional yeast
have a
kind
look?
of parmesan. You have a go on that. And so then I thought that'd be quite fun to give to you. And then I put some other bits together. So olives, the best tuna in the world.
Oh yeah,
and
agreed.
the best beans in the world.
Bold Bean Company,
And then-
Fortis Tuna, and name
What
of
was
the...
it? What was in that jar?
Oh yeah, sorry. Olives at
Oh, that's the olives. Okay.
Delicious
So we got
bloody
Bold
olives.
Beans, Ortiz Tuna, Bold Bean Company. Are these butter beans? Yeah, butter
They're
beans,
butter beans.
tuna, olives, and some
Some motley
nutritional
crew.
yeast. You've got the whole hour to think about what you want to do with it.
I
So
mean, I'll be honest. The thing is, when you start with like, you that's almost ready to go.
Well,
like
pretty close, right?
you could kind of open those and put them
keep
together.
the listeners guessing.
Yeah.
All right,
So
John?
Wait to the end to find out what that crazy chef does.
Crazy
He's
guy
insane.
Jordan comes up
He's
with, yeah.
innovative. They thought Heston was crazy, but fuck me, that met Jordan King. You're currently in the middle of your epic voyage around France, Spain, Portugal, Italy. You're traveling around documenting traditional dishes.
Yes.
Tell us how it's been. What are the best places you've eaten, best dishes you've sort of had?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Of those countries, I think the the place that I was most excited to kind of dig into a little bit was Portugal, just because I think, Italy, France, and Spain, you get lots of restaurants from all three of those countries here.
Yeah.
Everybody cooks the food, talks about the food. You see it on telly, you see it in magazines, you see it in cookbooks, endless.
You sort of feel like you know it already.
Yeah. Whereas Portugal, it was like, you don't really get a lot of Portuguese restaurants. You don't really see Portuguese food a lot. You don't really eat much of it, or at least I didn't growing up here.
No.
And so I was quite kind of curious about this, this country and this cuisine, which often probably just gets like lumped in with Spanish food, right?
Yeah.
But it's so distinctly its own thing, so separate. Again, like really regional, just as regional as Italian food or anything like that. And so that was kind of probably the place that I was most excited to go and to visit and to travel around. I mean, all of those countries have great kind of rich, deep, regional cuisines, but Portugal was probably the one that I knew the least about, and therefore was the one that I was most excited.
What's like jumps? Because I'm thinking in my head as you're talking, I'm like, okay, what's like
right?
bifana?
That's it, right?
Is that Portuguese?
Yeah,
like sort of
bifana,
like meat in bread,
sandwich,
steak sandwich,
Salt
custard
cod?
tarts, salt cod,
Bacalao, is it?
Yeah.
and piri chicken.
Piri chicken, yeah. That's
So what? But like having been there and actually done, what stands out?
What stands out? I think a bit like with Italy, you've got that intense regionality of cuisine. So like piri chicken, you eat that right down in the south.
Yeah.
And the food right down in the south is very Mediterranean. It's also very like Arab influenced. So the food of the whole country is very Arab influenced.
Is it?
You can find that in like the names of the dishes and just Portuguese language in general. But the ingredients and all of that kind of thing is really kind of like inflected with a lot of like North African flavors. And then it's also very like food of hot climate in the south, and then as you move further north, it kind of changes and it becomes a little bit heavier, and they cook with like a lot of offal, a lot of rice. There's a lot of the food's so good. It's like weirdly, a lot of what I ate almost felt like something you would find in St. John, but
really
Mediterranean. Like if Fergus went on holiday,
Yeah.
and just was like, I'm going to cook the
I don't think Ever does go on holiday.
No. Never, no. He's actually never left Farrington. In the sensibility of the way that they cook, right? It feels very like that kind of cooking. But
Did you have that weird sandwich in Porto? Because that is an insult to cuisine. But also...
Hold on. But the Franceschina.
Oh, man.
Is that how you say it?
My Portuguese is so bad. And like...
Is that what you mean, though?
Well,
One thing that's difficult with like Italian, French, Spanish, if someone says a word to me, I can have a reasonable go at saying it back. And then Portuguese, I'm like,
no.
man.
I know.
Got those like crazy Russian vowel sounds.
Yeah.
It's like Franceschina or something.
But tell the listeners what's in it if they haven't had it.
Oh man, it's like a tower of power. It's the bread, steak, eggs. What else is in there? Ham, I think, as well as steak.
Got to be cheese, right?
There's loads of cheese, and then the whole thing's served like in gravy with chips.
Yeah, it's like a stoner's dream, isn't it? Like being back in uni.
What did you? So I started the year. I went on holiday to Madeira, like an old retiree.
Nice.
Which I guess
you're not that old yet.
No, I'm not. I went with my dad, who is an old retiree. Yeah. And that's Portuguese food. And I had one of those as a joke almost and thought it was going to be ridiculous. I found it delicious.
It's delicious. Yeah.
Like not delicious. As heavy as the kind of ingredients list was going to suggest. Certainly this one I had.
Send you to sleep.
Send me to sleep.
You must find one because the heart palpitations I had in Porto.
Really, it
could have been something else. But
it takes prisoners. It takes prisoners.
It's a wild dish, that.
Talking about like North African influence, Arabic influence. I know you were out in Marseille working at Mercato like a month ago.
Yeah.
One of the great restaurants out there. What was that like? What were you cooking?
Oh, it was wicked. It's my friend Justine, who I used to work with in Paris, and she's moved to Marseille, and she's running this really cool like wine bar. And I was trying to cook. What was I trying to cook? I suppose I was trying to cook the food that I would cook kind of anywhere, my own style of thing, which is kind of what I always do if I go and cook somewhere else. I try and take my own style with me. But I also get really excited about being in that place and trying to like lean into what they have there, right, and what they eat. And so, the way that she's able to cook there is so nice because there's a big market right at the end of the road, and she. It's like that chef's dream. You go there in the morning and you just look at what's good, what's in season, what's fresh, what's a good price, buy it all, put it in a little cart and wheel it back, and then based on what you've got, you then write your menu for the day, for the next day. So we were cooking like that. So it's kind of by default, without really trying. It's very seasonal, very local, because you're just buying food from the market and then cooking it. And the thing that I was excited about in Marseille was eating a lot of North African food, like Tunisian and Algerian food, which London is a great city for food from all around the world. But one thing that we don't have is a lot of like Tunisian or Algerian food. There are no Tunisian restaurants in London, actually. And so I was excited to go there. And obviously, I mean, the better thing would be to go to Tunisia itself, but like as a closer and easier alternative to be in Marseille and to be eating like proper Tunisian food made by Tunisian cooks is really cool. And the same with like Algerian, and they have a lot of Moroccan food there as well. So I kind of didn't really eat much French food at all in Marseille. But I was totally fine with that. And so I was eating a lot of that kind of food, and then, you know, picking up the local produce and the vegetables, and we were just kind of cooking together. And I think probably a little bit of what I was seeing around me rubbed off on the menu.
Any stand-up dishes?
What was my favorite thing? I did a nice dish of really good, like fresh spring peas, which it doesn't sound great when you describe it. It's basically like I cook down loads of onions, caramelized onions, and then mix them through labneh with lots of olive oil, and you kind of put the peas through it and then plate it up with a lot of sumac and fresh mint, and you just eat it with bread.
Sounds unbelievable.
It's good. It's just fresh and creamy and nice.
Yeah.
What else? We did lots of good things. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what else was on the menu.
Well,
I can't
don't worry
remember.
about it. That's good enough for one dish. But I mean, that wasn't your first experience cooking in France, as you said. You worked in Paris.
Yeah.
A friend of Ben's, I believe. Is that Chisholm a friend of yours, or you're just a fan of his?
I just like his book.
Yeah, he obviously wrote that great book, Wait in Paris. I don't know if you read it.
Yeah,
But he obviously writes about the craziness of French kitchens. Maybe their hygiene standards are questionable, even at the higher end places. Did you see some crazy things in the kitchens in Paris? I mean, you must have done.
I love that book. It was like, you know, do you ever read a book and think, fuck, I wish I'd written that?
Yeah.
It was one of those.
100%.
I mean, I would have had to write a chef in Paris, but
Yeah.
the parallels between what I was reading that he'd experienced as like an English guy going to work in France in restaurants, I was like, this is so funny.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd actually love to like just meet him and chat.
Yeah,
with him,
yeah,
'cause I think there'd probably be so many things where
100%.
you'd be like, oh man, and did you? Oh yeah, no, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where were you cooking? What like?
So I actually, when I first came from London, I went to the Auvergne, which is kind of central, slightly towards the south. And then I was there kind of for a summer, and then I moved to Paris, and I was supposed to be helping the opening of a restaurant there, and it was delayed because they're always delayed.
Of course.
And so then the silver lining of that was that I got to then spend kind of short amounts of time at lots of different places around Paris, which was really cool, and see how different people were cooking, how different chefs were thinking about food, and also cooking quite different styles of food. So everything from like real chalkboard, daily changing menu bistros to Michelin star kind of fine dining, like, you know, all your little foams and gels and that kind of thing. And that's not my thing at all, but it was really cool to see that and just see that like breadth of cooking. I think I was reasonably lucky in terms of not working anywhere where anyone was too horrible. I mean, yeah, there was, you get the kind of angry French chef stereotype.
Yeah.
It's a stereotype because it kind of exists. And there was an element of that, but there was nothing.
So you must have seen, like, so Edward Chisholm, you know, talks about the chefs fucking dropping stuff on the floor, serving it. Like, were there any weird things like that? Come on, there must have been. You don't have to name the restaurants. We just want the stories.
Do you know what I saw more of than that's kind of like sloppy, right? And kind of gross.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe the difference is that the restaurants that he's talking about in his book, where he was working as a waiter, are perhaps not the same kind of place that you'd go as like a ambitious chef trying to learn from like really talented chefs.
Yeah.
So maybe we weren't in kind of the same kind of kitchens, because I didn't see anything kind of too horrific like that. But what I did see, which isn't, it's different, but is also equally kind of like, whoa, it's things like, I noticed that the more ambitious the restaurant I worked in, the rarer they would serve chicken. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just like things like that. Like, they would just really like push things to the limit in terms of like leaving meat out at room temperature for like really long periods of time so that it gets un peu funky. And like all this thing like really like ripe fucking like offals and meats and cheeses and just like a lot of things that like have a lot of flavor. They're like a little bit sweaty and a little bit strong and a little bit cheesy and funky. And when it comes to like, you know, meat that's being served pretty like not undercooked, that's the wrong word,
like,
but you know, like
just about
on the
edge. Yeah, really tap dancing on the edge. I saw quite a lot of that, but I was super fucking into it as well.
Yeah, my friend Lizzie's a baker in Paris, or she's actually in Marseille now, but she was in Paris.
Yeah,
and she always spoke about the smell as not being great in like Parisian like bakery kitchens, which are often like below ground.
Yeah,
and the number of rats.
Oh yeah.
And like,
and cockroaches,
which you know, you see that in London as well in restaurants. But she was saying like because of I guess the Seine and like whatever.
Oh, the rats is nuts. I remember when I'd walk home from the restaurant, well, one of the places I worked in, which was pretty central, and I'd walk home with my friend Antoine, and like you just see rats everywhere, like running, because we had to cross the bridge, so we'd go over the bridge, and this is at like midnight or whatever, and you just see like bare rats
just chilling out.
Yeah, everywhere.
I thought I saw something just before we move on of like a steak falling out of a pan, and then being washed and served, or was I just imagining that in my sleep?
Saw it where?
Where did you?
When you worked out in France, some interview you did, or maybe I was fabricating that in my mind.
You just like that narrative.
I think you're right. Yeah. Shit, I'd forgotten about that.
So go on.
A steak that had been, it was an expensive steak.
Yeah.
Hence the reason. And I think what happened is that it fell into a sink.
Yeah.
Not on the floor. I think it fell into a sink and was then rinsed off, flashed back in the pan, and then served.
Sweet.
Yeah. I mean,
crazy.
Not
on the
too bad, but I mean, not great.
No. Yeah.
A little tinge of fairy liquid in there. Yeah, shit, I'd forgotten about that.
We sort of established that you have a tiny bit of a connection, in your sort of heritage to Italy.
Yeah.
Don't want to put you on the spot again. We've already done that with the deli bag. Deli steady go. But of the 4 classic Roman pastas,
yeah,
for those listening, what's your favourite?
What are the 4?
They're basically, so the idea with this 4 classic Roman pastas is that you've got a handful of ingredients, and by either taking one away or adding the other, you end up with 4. So you've got cacio e pepe, which is pecorino and pepper. If you add guanciale, then you get
Carbonara.
Grisha.
Right, okay.
And if you add eggs, you get carbonara.
Grisha.
Yeah, pasta alla Grisha is like
okay, nice.
Carbonara without eggs.
So a little bit shitter. Or pretty good.
But older.
Yeah.
For sure, older.
Right, yeah.
And then if you take away the eggs but add tomatoes, you get amatriciana.
Yes, you do.
What's your favourite?
Either carbonara or amatriciana.
Have you ever been to Trastevere in, is it in Clapham, the Roman Italian restaurant?
Yes, I have.
Pretty good there. Owned by like a famous Italian actor.
I had a carbonara there.
Yeah, enjoy it?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
yeah.
Shout out to those guys.
It's good.
Yeah.
Those 2 are my favourite. Carbonara isn't. It is included in that repertoire of the 4 classic Roman pastas. It's actually quite a modern dish.
Right.
So that's
especially the way you make it, or was it your wife's dad?
Yeah, my father-in-law. Yeah.
Go on.
No, just like very 90s British way.
Cream and bacon.
Yeah, there's cream, there's garlic, and then it's cooked to fuck. So it's like scrambledy egginess.
That's rank.
Yeah.
Like,
after
like
10 years of
spaghetti.
marriage, I'm now. That's the only time my wife and I argue. Originally, I refused.
You
to make it
know,
like that.
a quick fun fact for the listeners at home though is that the original recipe for carbonara, the first recorded recipe for carbonara, as I said, is quite a modern dish.
Yeah.
Is from Chicago in 1952, and it is made with bacon and cream.
Really?
Yeah.
What? And then it's been like sort of adopted back into
the
Italian folklore.
The most accepted, like food historians' most accepted origin story for that dish is that it was created when the American GIs were liberating Italy from the Second World War, and in there because Italy was really poor. Really poor, like properly poor. Since then, there's been the whole big kind of baby boomer 1960s Dolce Vita kind of thing has happened, and but pre that it was very poor, and the GIs came with their ration packs and they had bacon and cream.
Right.
And that's where they think carbonara comes from. It's kind of bacon and eggs pasta.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really codified into this like, you know, untouchable, strict kind of sacrosanct thing that it apparently is now until like the 90s. And now you get all the old Italian chefs on TV. You're putting the fucking parmigiano in your carbonara. But that's like, it's bollocks, man.
Yeah, that's
total
interesting.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's 3 great Roman pastas.
There's kind of 3 old school.
Yeah.
And
one American.
And one American one. Even amatriciana, like the tomatoes in that is a modern addition because they've only cooked with tomatoes in Italy for like 150 years. So I love Italian food. I deeply respect it. I also think there's a huge amount to unpack in terms of like the marketing and PR, like dressing up of it that happens.
Well, the first guy to codify it or try and or in recent time, not first, it can't be first and most recent, Mussolini.
Yeah, right. That's why.
What is it? PO. What's the thing they put after things when it's like Parmesan, PODC or DOC? Or
I see. Yeah. Like
sort of a Mussolini thing because he wanted to like make it.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
That origin.
Yeah.
The European, the stamp.
Yeah. He sort of started that because he's like, it's got to be Italian and it's got to be from a place and I don't want it to like move around.
I can actually, that really does tie it. Like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. They did, the broader Italian people just need to relax.
It is fascinating though because basically 20 countries into one now, isn't it? Italy,
pretty
which
much.
is crazy and all different food.
Yeah.
Mentioning Italian food, I'm just going to quote you here. You said, for a region of great food within a country of great food, the bread in Tuscany is awful. Yeah. It's properly shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask both of you, both chefs, why is it so bad and what can we do to bring it to life? If somebody's, for some reason, staring at a Tuscan loaf at home,
walk away.
What can they do to bring it to life?
Bin it. You can, shit, what can you do? It's too late. The thing is, they're so like entrenched in this tradition of making saltless bread. They're so stubborn and Italian about it. That they've continued to do it even though it's objectively horrible. Yeah. Like it's just really unpleasant.
What are they doing with it?
They make it into things like panzanella.
Yeah, right. That's what is in my head. Yeah,
you can make it edible by soaking it in liquid and tomato juice,
oil and vinegar and
loads of salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so that's sort of an overrated item. What is an underrated Italian dish? Or
I think underrated Italian food is probably all of the food that people actually eat in Italy that you don't really find in Italian restaurants here.
Yeah.
Which is just like, it's just kind of like good home cooking. It's not even, dare I say it, like a million miles away from like traditional English cooking.
Yeah.
That kind of like home style European cooking that actually, you know, grandmas everywhere from, you know, Birmingham to Bosnia probably. It's like, you know, there's a lot of like soups, there's a lot of vegetables, there's a lot of like things cooked in broth, there's a lot of, I don't know, you know, pretty good, delicious home cooking. I think they obviously have this like great culture around it and they've retained a lot of tradition and I think they have a huge pride in what they cook and it's really rooted into the culture, right?
Yeah.
Like people really care about what they cook and what they eat. And I think that's probably what you feel when you go there. I was talking to a friend about this the other day and I was saying that if you compare going out to eat in, say, Rome versus London, you can go out and eat really, really good food in a restaurant in both cities. I think perhaps the best way to describe the difference between eating in Italy and eating in the UK is just that you know what it is? The difference is what you feel when you go into like a nothingy place. When you just like go and get a sandwich from a bar and you're going to just like have a coffee and eat a little panino or something, it will quite often be quite good.
Yeah.
Like not amazing, not the best sandwich you've ever eaten, but just quite decent. And the kind of thing that in London to get a sandwich that good, you'd have to like look a bit for it and pay a bit of money for it. And that's just like kind of like the baseline expected. This, if you're going to sell a sandwich, it should probably be about this good kind of thing. That's like the best way I can describe the difference. I think at like a restaurant level, it's not, you know, necessarily wildly better.
No.
It probably is like if you're in Puglia eating Pugliese food, than if you went to eat Pugliese food in London. But like pound for pound, let's say restaurant to restaurant, it's not necessarily better.
What are your favourite childhood food memories? I mean, did you always grow up obsessed with food? What kind of dishes were we eating? Yeah,
I did. I think even as a kid, I was just like super excited about food, super excited about like going different places and eating different things and just trying stuff. My dad was always really good at kind of being like, oh, try this, even if it looks a little bit weird or something. Like, yeah, have a go. Give it a try. But then also, like, as a kid, I loved just eating like beige food.
Yeah.
Like any kid, I loved eating like waffles, potato waffles, and beans and cheddar cheese and stuff like that.
So you were ordering off the adult menu when you were a kid.
Yeah.
That's what I used to do. Made my parents absolutely livid because most people were jumping for the macaroni cheese.
Yeah.
Whereas I sat there with the big fold out in a French restaurant, fucking ordering the nicest thing on the menu.
And they're like, he's not going to appreciate this.
Yeah. And I fucking was. I used to wear like a small suit. I was kind of
Really?
like, I was like Fergus Henderson, but like 6.
I'd love to get a photo of that.
Yeah. I'll try putting that on Instagram.
That's too good.
But favourite dishes from when you're growing up? Something maybe your parents made? Or?
Favourite dishes when I was growing up?
Ben, why don't you kick us off?
Have you got one?
For my 8th birthday, I made all my mates go and have mussels.
Whoa.
I grew up in a place called Westram, or near Westram, and there's a place called Rendezvous, which did mussels.
What a
like the
great
rest
name.
of the lads were going to, great name. We're going to McDonald's
Yeah.
for like Ronald McDonald and 20 nuggets. And I took everyone to, I think I was the only guy that ate anything.
Were they all just like, what the fuck is this?
What the fuck are you doing? Yeah. And it wasn't well received. It took me quite a few years to come back from that.
That's
You lost a couple of friends.
I did, yeah.
That's a really good story. I don't think I was ever like bold enough.
No.
Stupid enough, maybe. Yeah.
But what about like your mum and dad? Did they make a signature dish or?
No, I don't have any. I wish I had one of those like great chef stories of
me
like,
too.
when you were like a kid and they're like, and that was the moment that I knew I was going to be a chef.
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
like 4 years old or something. It was like when their dad.
It's like me
handed
dressed in
them-
a suit.
Yeah,
Fergus Henderson.
Yeah, when they like ate an oyster from the fisherman's fingers, or like when their nonna was like rolling past and they're under the table and a bit fell in their mouth, or something, like bollocks like that.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think that ever happened.
Everyone expects a good origin story.
Yeah, I know. No.
Like
Unnecessary.
oven pizza,
Yeah,
doesn't cut
I
it.
think I just ate like
like a normal child.
pretty much like a normal kid in the 90s in the UK. I mean, I'd say both my parents like to cook, and maybe so my dad's Swiss French, and so maybe like that, they're as a culture are very into like food and wine. It's kind of what they do. And so like going to visit my grandparents, if we'd go to France, if we'd go like, that probably had an element of of influence on like, being interested in food, and probably getting to try some stuff that like I wouldn't have done had I just been here.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that had an impact. And just like, I think the general importance that was placed on food and being excited about eating it and sitting around a table and eating food, and also being in the kitchen while my parents were cooking and all of that kind of thing. I think that all cumulatively has an impact, but I don't think there was like one single thing
Sure. We're now going to play GoTo menu. It's a quick fire GoTo section where we ask you a couple of questions.
Can I grab a glass of water?
Sure.
That's all right.
We're going to kick off with the dish you'll always order if on a menu.
Oh, Ben said steak tartare with this, didn't he? It's a really good answer. The dish I will always order if it's on a menu. Oh shit, that's quite hard. He's already taken the best answer. That's the problem.
Well, you can join him.
Take it back.
Yeah, you can join him. Do what the Italians did to carbonara.
Maybe I should. Oh, steak tartare is good. No, there has to be something else that I would always order if it's on a menu. I'll come back to you.
You come back to me. You know what? We're going to give you steak tartare.
Okay,
Ben?
fine.
Dish or ingredient which is on too many menus at the moment.
Basque cheesecake.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Good shout, actually.
Yeah. It's great, but you don't all need to do it.
No, agreed.
No.
Agreed. It is good though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worst cooking fad, what's it been?
God, there's a lot to choose from there.
Well,
aren't
just give us a couple.
there? Maybe I can give a more holistic answer, which is that cooking fads kind of miss the whole point of everything, right?
Yeah.
Like a fad, maybe a fad in general does. It can be like, you don't want to be some Debbie Downer. Like a fad can be fun, but like a fad when it's like kids' toys is fun or whatever, or clothes, but I think with food, I don't know. You could open a whole can of worms with this. It's not very quick fire, but
No.
social media and the proliferation of social media and I suppose like almost the kind of homogenization that you see of food when everyone sees everything that everyone else is doing and everyone ends up doing the same fucking thing, all kind of ties into this idea of like fads and viral moment, like viral food. Like that's insane.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is weird. It's
I don't
really
spend
weird.
a lot of time on social media, and I get caught out when I'll see someone do something and think, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then like would do something for work and spend a bit of time on Instagram and be like, oh right, they've just taken it because like I don't
Someone
know,
else
Mob did
is
it
doing
first, and then
it,
like everyone has to have that version of.
Yeah.
And it's fucking weird.
I think I'm trying to think of an actual really bad. Do you know what was quite minging was those butterboard things that everyone was doing a while
What's
ago.
that about?
Give it a break.
It was like, did you see it? It was like soft,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
soft butter on a board with stuff on it.
Yeah.
And then you sort of swiped it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking
Just make a sandwich. Like grow up.
Agreed.
Yeah. yeah. Any good cooking hacks?
Oh, so many.
Yeah. What's your what's the first one that comes to mind, or the one that you find yourself actually using?
Oh, I should have actually thought about this because I just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I
that's
mean?
true.
You don't necessarily think of it as a hack.
Yeah.
Good cooking hacks. Good cooking.
Yeah. How you got to divide it?
Wow.
From like,
How do you like pull it out from what you just know as the way of doing something?
have you got?
Well, how do you like elevate a dish? What's like a trick of the kitchen? Or a hack?
Trick of the kitchen? That's a better way of putting it.
You know, I think one of the things that is really good when you're cooking at home is when you set up your little space that you're going to cook in, and you've got your chopping board, and kind of just like set your shit up a little bit. Like put a little wet towel under your board so it's not skidding around. Get your ingredients out.
That, by the way, is unbelievable.
Right.
As in, like every chef does that.
Every chef does it
I
without
don't think anyone
thinking.
in a home kitchen does.
Sure.
It. Yeah,
So there you go. Wet tea towel under your chopping board stops it slipping around. Get your ingredients out. Have a look at what you need to use and just put them all together in one place. Put a little bowl next to your board so that once you've like peeled an onion and chopped the top off something, you put everything in the bowl and you do one trip to the bin. Because I see so many people like they take the skin off an onion, they walk over and put it in the bin. Then they come back to the chopping board, they cut the bottom off a carrot, and then they walk back to the bin and put it in again and again.
Or even worse, it kind of just stays
just
on the
leave
board
it.
and they're kind of working in a tiny area of the board because
Either way, just like give yourself a little bowl bin and put the whole thing in the bin at the end. And like those are things that you learn working in restaurants. You know, you learn to work clean, work neat. And the funny thing is, a lot of what you learn about cooking in restaurants doesn't translate necessarily into home cooking, but some things like that really do, because they actually make cooking at home way less stressful. They make it easier to clean up after. They make it more calm, more simple. And I think that, I suppose like to give it an umbrella term, like your mise en place, like just doing a little bit of mise en place makes home cooking really chill, makes it really pleasant.
I think it's a great hack.
That's what I would say. Yeah. Those little things.
We're going to move on to go-to drinks, and this is when Ben is going to bring out some sort of drink, I believe.
I am, yeah.
Which isn't water.
But boozy or not boozy?
Depends what it is.
They're both sparkling rosé type wines.
Yeah, let's try it. Why not?
Yeah.
So go on, what do we have there, Ben? And quickly, when you bring that out, just tell us what your go-to cocktail is off the bat.
Either a G&T with loads of lime, of lime, like cut a lime in half and squeeze both halves. Just drop it in, like big time lime. I'm sure any gin purist out there would fucking sacrifice me for that.
They can go fuck themselves.
Yeah. Really limey G&T. Obviously, I like a Negroni because everyone likes a Negroni. I like an old fashioned.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
Whoa.
We've just had an explosion.
That is a fizzy.
Too much of an explosion.
No, it's okay. Don't worry, George. It's all good. Our producer's getting worried there. So we've now just opened quite dramatically a bottle of, what is that?
It's called the Renegade. It's a Renegade for a renegade.
So it's rhubarb, raspberries. Looks quite incredible.
Tasting notes.
Is this the place that's like,
tasting notes.
is this under some railway arches in Peckham?
The
The
where we are
winery?
It actually claims on the back to be from Kuala Lumpur.
What?
Yeah. First time I read that, it's family business from Kuala Lumpur.
Oh, I thought, am I getting this? Isn't that winery?
It's an urban winery though, so I said
Probably is Peckham.
I weirdly thought
Via Kuala Lumpur. That's quite an explosion. So
George is having a heart attack.
This is a sparkling rosé, right?
Sparkling rosé.
And you can get it
Either, Freddie, move your effort. Either from Arches in Peckham or Kuala Lumpur.
Okay.
We will, by the time the app goes out, confirm.
I weirdly thought that I'd walked, or maybe it's in Hackney. I mean, everything is in a railway arch.
It's probably in a railway arch.
So.
I can't imagine it comes straight from Kuala Lumpur. There's probably some sort of urbanization going on.
Certainly, when you order it on Deli,
Yeah.
it doesn't then come from Kuala
Well,
Lumpur.
if you want a dramatic opening of a bottle, and also I'm imagining a delicious taste.
It looks good.
we'll
Can
go
I have a
cheers
look at the
then.
bottle?
Yeah.
Thank
Sorry, do you want a little cloth?
No, that's all right. Thank you.
Interesting.
What are we talking about?
Delicious.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Peckham.
Produced and it's East. Produced and bottled by Urban, Unit 7, London E17. I feel like it's the place.
I think you
Yeah,
must
I'm
have
sure
been
it's the
about
place you're
that.
talking about.
Jordan was saying cheers to you, sir. Thank you
Cheers
for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You can get
Nice
us on
one.
Deli
Cheers.
if you
Cheers.
guys want to join us in like a, sort of virtual cheersing. And you can get 25% off with the code GoToDeli.
That would do.
How many L's?
2 L's.
2 L's.
Let's crack on with this little drinks section there, Ben.
That's really quite a pleasant thing.
Quite
to drink,
nice, right?
actually, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, like the elephant in the room is it could be colder, but we're in a basement.
Yeah,
It's okay.
It's all right, yeah.
Yeah.
What we're doing? Cocktails.
Canapés.
In fact, the fact that it's still nice when it's not that cold is
That's
a
actually
testament
quite,
to
that's
the wine.
testament to the
let's say.
wine, yeah. Okay, people coming over for dinner,
Yeah.
pre-dinner,
Yeah.
cocktail and canapes. What goes out? Or snacks?
That's maybe the best bit, isn't it? It's the bit that you get most excited about
Yeah.
prepping
Agreed.
as well.
Yeah.
I love everyone loves this a little toast, enough butter to leave teeth marks, and then a few good anchovies on top. It's not groundbreaking. I know that every wine buyer does that, but there's a reason they do it. It's good.
It's absolutely delicious.
What else? I quite like making like little salady things, little kind of cut up, tomatoes dressed with like lots of herbs and oil and vinegar and all of that kind of thing.
How would you attack that? With a vehicle, or are you using your hands as the vehicle? Like, is there some
Do you
sort
mean
of
like a crisp or
carbohydrate vehicle?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you've got nice little bits of toasted bread and a fork, and you can kind of get your tomatoes on there and just I'm quite into that kind of thing. What else do I like to make when? I know what you mean, like little kind of your little dinner
little
party,
snacky, like little just to get people. I think anchovy on toast.
Yeah,
anchovy on
you
toast
can't
is
beat
good.
that.
I'm also quite a fan, especially if you're cooking something where you're spending quite a lot of time on what you're cooking. It's quite nice to just do like a bit of saucisson, some cheese,
God, yeah.
all of that kind of thing.
100%.
And just like lay it out. Nothing too stressful.
Nice.
Olives.
Yeah.
I think that's a good kind of touching back in on the kitchen hacks whilst keeping it firmly in this section of the podcast. Great thing for people if they are cooking at home, if they are having friends around for dinner. Do a dessert that is set, that is in the fridge ready. Do a main course that is one big dish that like goes in the oven, so you're not plating up individual things. And then for these little snacky starter bits, do stuff that's like already done for you: olives, cheese, salami. You can do like butter anchovy toast is really quick. I think that just takes all the stress out, and you're just like cool.
Agreed.
Then you can hang out with your mates and drink wine and not
Agreed.
worry about.
What about your morning drink? The first thing you drink in the morning?
Water and coffee. That's not like a weird watery coffee,
No.
but a big glass of water and then coffee.
Tap water still? Yeah. Even though there's been some things in the news saying we're all going to die.
I did.
What?
Yeah, I saw that in the
Parasites
paper.
and-
Yeah. Do you know what?
Everyone's got the shits in Devon apparently, and
Yeah.
southeast London as well.
Really?
No, I'm risking it.
Yeah, risk
Yeah.
it.
I live in Putney now, man.
Yeah, you give yourself
You're-
away.
You're
Yeah,
safe.
Those waterways
Yeah.
aren't getting infected by
No.
it.
I'm like a month in.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a shirt.
Yeah,
so,
still you completely
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Amazing.
the tap water there. It's probably like
I
got that that royal stamp that they
Yeah,
put on
yeah,
things.
Yeah.
I reckon. Yeah.
Mate, I think that's a good one.
Black coffee, milky coffee.
Cappuccino
Yeah, nice.
first, and then I'll drink black coffee through the day.
Beautiful.
After that, I was talking to a mate about this, and I was saying like Italians are like obsessed with digestion, and they have this thing about you don't drink milky coffee after lunch, right? But like they'll eat a panna cotta for dessert. which is just set milk.
It's such a weird arbitrary rule.
It's a really funny thing. Yeah.
Fucking Italians.
I do kind of get, like, in my head, cappuccino is breakfast. Like it does
it's
feel
almost
like a
substantial.
breakfast.
Yeah.
I do I get it from like an aesthetic perspective.
Yeah.
But there's no way that like drinking a cappuccino after dinner is going to give you an upset stomach.
No.
Like, especially not if you're really happy to eat like
Panna cotta.
cream. Like panna cotta.
Yeah.
The amount of sort of
Mate,
ice cream they put away.
But yeah, no, I never drink tea. I've never been a tea drinker.
Really?
No.
Say that morning you're hungover rather
Yes.
than just fresh, ready to go.
Yeah.
What are you bringing to the party to kind of help you out?
I really, really love a big fry up when I'm hungover.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Full works?
Yeah, full works. I've never been, you know, those people who like can't eat on a hangover.
Yeah,
I've got mates like that. They just like can't eat when they're hungover. I've never ever had that problem. I go the other way if anything.
Yeah.
I'm just like food. Yeah, big fry up. Like that's maybe one of the only times as well that I'll actually drink tea.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like a sugary builder.
Milky, sugary tea. Yeah.
Yeah. I just quite like it with a fry up. Yeah, sausage, bacon, black pudding.
Oh, God.
Lots of black pudding.
Where's the best
eggs,
fry up in
beans.
London?
I Pellicci,
Yes.
hands down. Like
Yeah.
easily my favourite fry up.
You go bubble and squeak and everything?
Yeah.
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 Fried
everything.
slice or...
That I don't.
No, it's too much.
The fried
'Cause
slice.
the heart's going,
That'll get you.
and the fried slice, you're staring at it and you're going like, well, this could be the end of me.
You know, we were talking about like early food memories.
Mm.
I remember my dad taking me to a greasy spoon as a kid and having a fry up. And I remember him ordering fried bread and then showing me what it was. And I remember he got his fork and he pressed the fried bread on the plate with his fork, and you see the oil come out of it.
About a litre of the stuff.
And I must have been really young when he showed me that. And I still remember it. I still remember thinking, what?
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
going
lot.
straight into the heart of the artery.
Yeah, no, the fried slice can tip me over the edge, but I'll go big on everything else.
You
For
weren't
sure.
always destined to work in food, were you? Because I read that you were working in Saville Rowe as a sort of a tailor.
Yeah.
How did you fall into that magical world? And more importantly, I can imagine you must have some pretty crazy stories from the clientele there.
So I never made it to the heady realms of an actual tailor. I was I suppose like the front of house of the tailoring world, if you like. I was the waiter. Because my job was to basically kind of greet customers, show them around the shop, so show them like swatches of different fabrics that they could have shirts and stuff made out of, that were from different mills and different types of cotton or wool or whatever of different weights, and look at things like all the different kind of buttons you could have or collar styles or da. And so that was kind of my job, and I was doing that with the intention of wanting to become a tailor at some point. And then I think, as happens often when you're young, you just kind of change your mind about what you're interested in and what you might want to do, and this, that, and the other. And so I didn't end up like kind of pursuing it, but I had a great time. I had a great time working there. And I met a lot of interesting characters. It's this funny like old world.
Yeah.
It's this like, that area around St. James where you've got Savile Row, you've got Jermyn Street, you've got like Burlington Arcade. There's that little kind of area which is really famous for like traditional menswear, like British tailoring. People come from all over the world to buy British tailoring, right? And it's funny the kind of characters you get in there. There's a lot of like Sir this and Lord that, and I don't know. It was quite cool. I mean, I was pretty young, and it was just interesting to meet all these kinds of people that I would have never normally met.
Any celeb customers?
Yeah. Stephen Fry used to buy his shirts from from where I worked. That was cool. Who else? The best story of the place that I worked, which is he wasn't a celeb, but when you were buying bespoke suiting, the first thing that the tailor will do is cut what they call your pattern, and your pattern is basically like a paper outline of your body essentially. And it's what they will then use to cut the garments when they go to make your suit. So they measure you all over, and then they produce this pattern, and you have different like sort of paper panels that make up a customer's pattern, right? And then they keep them on file for the rest of your life, so that if you go back in 10, 15, 20 years and have another suit made, they already have your pattern. And Ooh.
Keep going.
In a very like old school way. Sorry, how did you?
Sorry,
Did you just make that on the floor?
I made it on the floor. Yeah.
He's a goblin chef.
Sorry, Joe. I didn't want to stop the story.
That's okay. And yeah, so it's that real old school world of that kind of customer service where they'll cut your pattern and they'll keep it forever basically. And I remember a guy coming in and he came in to pick up a bunch of bespoke shirts that he'd had made. I think it was like 12 shirts or something like that, 12 bespoke shirts that he'd had made. And he'd come in to have those shirts made 10 years before. And then he'd been in prison in South America.
Baller.
And he'd come back in to pick up his shirts.
That's awesome.
And they still fucking had them waiting for him, wrapped up in like paper.
That's unbelievable
Tied a
customer
string
service.
with a little label on, and it was Mr. Whoever.
Yeah.
And they were just there,
That's
waiting
incredible.
in the back of the shop. And I was like, that's kind of
epic.
cool.
That's very
Yeah.
cool. It's quite London, that. I don't know why. Like, sort of, yeah.
I worked for a shirt cutter called Kelly, and he was this big fucking Cockney bloke.
Yeah.
And he always wore like an immaculate shirt. Obviously, he was a shirt cutter. Really undone. Like
Plenty of chest.
Like this.
Yeah.
Big gold chain.
With a gut or no gut?
Yeah. Slick back hair. I mean, he was like something out of a Guy Ritchie film.
Yeah.
And he'd like stand behind the counter, sovereign rings, everything like that. And he's just like a big bloke. And he could really carry off being called Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is a real certain type of man that can do that.
You think that's his
And he
parents?
was-
They sort of wanted to,
Yeah.
give him a kind of
Yeah.
slightly softer name.
Make him grow into
Yeah,
it.
make
kind
him
of.
grow into it. Yeah.
Well, you guys may have heard that some food is coming out because we are about to talk about Jordan's food days. Ben, what do we have here? What have you created? What have you used?
So I've done a little, like, it's a spring lasagna. So it's like peas, asparagus, broad beans, etc. And then, so I always used to get these like pickled fermented mushrooms from Longdan, and I spotted on Deli they had like a mushroom exo sauce.
Yeah.
And I used to put these like Asian mushrooms in the base of a lot of like Italian food. I cooked,
Nice.
just to like ramp up the flavour.
Yeah.
And so I've sort of done that in there. So
Nice.
there's like yeah.
Looks amazing.
And then this, funny, one of my favourite snacks in the world.
Is that an oaf's mayonnaise?
Yeah, it's sort of an earth tonato.
Oh, nice.
So I'm fucking
smart.
with people.
Yeah.
Little Franco-Italian vibe.
Yeah,
Be prepared to be fucked.
with an anchovy. Be prepared to be fucked. Yeah. It's the reason I did that is because one of the restaurants I used to work at, that was like my pre-service snack,
Okay.
because you have your like fridge drawer for the prep,
Yeah.
and we used to do a lot of like Sri Lankan food and often put an egg on like a sort of
Nice.
potato-y curry-ish thing.
Yeah.
So that swiped through some tonato, and then a little posh anchovy on top,
Come
and that
on.
would
Well, mate,
sort me out for service. So I could put these
So
things
good.
together.
Mate, get sort of jumped into that.
Thank
as
you.
you do, I'm going to ask you about when you worked at the Marksman, which was the first pub in London to win Michelin Pub of the Year.
Yes.
What was that experience like? And can you give us your favourite dish?
So I actually only staged at the Marksman.
Okay.
I never like
Still valid.
worked there. Yeah. It's a really cool place
Yeah.
to even just to spend like a short amount of time.
You mean you're not going to take the credit for winning Michelin Pub of the Year?
Well, I mean, I didn't want to like say,
Yeah.
say anything, but yeah, no.
You kind of had an impact, I'm sure. Yeah.
Certainly not. I think it had already won that by the time I started
Right.
there
Yeah.
as well. I very much just went there to like learn some stuff.
And how was that different from sort of France? Like, what did you learn there? I know you were only staging.
Good question. That was before I went to.
That was pre-France. Okay.
I thought it was cool. I really liked the people. I really liked the food. And it was a pretty exciting place to go into as a young chef. Obviously, it's got that like ex-St. John
Yeah.
vibe that they've really carried through into the way that they cook. And I think we obviously touched on this before, but I think that kind of methodology, that way of thinking about food, that is often credited to like St. John and to Fergus is a really valuable thing for any young cook to experience and to learn, a little bit of actually kind of whatever food you're cooking. So that was cool.
What was the best dish at the Marksman?
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good food there.
Or one of your favourites?
I remember, I'm trying to think of something that like was on the menu then as well, not just like a thing that I know that they do. It's not necessarily like it's nothing kind of, I suppose, complex in the sense of like a particular dish almost that they've come up with. But I remember the head chef cooking a Tamworth chop, and I don't know why, but like growing up, I didn't really eat a lot of pork, especially not like pork chops. They just like weren't something that my family ever really cooked or something that I ever really ate. And I think I often thought it was quite dry and just a little bit shit. And I didn't really get why anyone ate pork chops, because you know you have like dead ones for school dinner or like
you know, like thin and leathery.
Yeah, exactly, and dry,
fat on the outside. Yeah.
And I remember, I can't remember. I want to say his name was Connor, the chef. That might not be right though, so maybe don't put that in. I don't want to offend him, but the chef, I remember cooking a Tamworth chop, and I just remember looking at it and being like, that looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like I was pretty fresh to the world of restaurants then, and so everything to me was just like, whoa, like what's that? What's this? What's that? And I remember him explaining like the whole process to do with brining, rendering out the fat, how you cook so that it's still juicy in the middle, how it actually can be like a bit rare, it doesn't have to be kind of cooked through, all these things that you just like, I just didn't know. And I just remember thinking like, oh, that's really cool. Like that's like completely changed my opinion of what a pork chop could be. And it was simple. It was like a pork chop on a plate with just, I can't even remember what the garnish was, like just like nothing crazy. Right?
Yeah. Quite St. John's-esque, just like protein with a little something inside.
Totally. Totally.
What about Brawn? Was that afterwards?
That was around the same time.
Around the same time. Was that quite cool to get? Did that feel like a step up in terms of like?
Brawn was good. It's a tough kitchen. It's a hard kitchen in terms of like the hours. The expectation on the chefs is really high, but I think that you can learn a lot in a place like that. And Ed, who runs it, is like an incredibly talented chef who. He also kind of comes from like an old school world. And there is quite a like, I suppose like an old school feel to the kitchen. It's quite like French run, you know,
Oui chef,
brigade, oui chef,
screamed it
type kitchen. Yeah. And it's like, there's people have different opinions on this. And some people say like it's outdated and it's inappropriate and no one should be treated like that, and you can actually learn to cook in a different environment. And they're right. I think those people are right. At the same time, I think there are people who can really thrive on a system like that.
For sure, yeah.
And it can really like, I don't know, if you just like dive into it and it's your thing and you actually like feed off the stress and the thing. Then for some people, I think it can work going into a kitchen like that. I think where it goes wrong is when you have someone who's not suited to either of those in the opposite one.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think maybe it's mostly about finding the kind of place that works for you. Of course, however you interpret that, there are lines that are never to be crossed. There are things, you know, that it's never acceptable actually to scream at someone and be abusive to someone, because you're actually only making a bit of fucking dinner.
But
you're not like in A&E.
Some people like need to be, you know, like people who are naughty at school sometimes need to be screamed at by teachers to get back in line and like get the best out of them. It's kind of the same. Some people only rise to the plate if they're screamed at.
Yeah. Some people, and I know it's hard for people who like hate that to believe, but some people actually do thrive on it.
I think I'd like to be screamed at if you guys want to give it a no.
Yeah.
Maybe not later. Yeah. Well, you hated it though, didn't you?
I could actually
in a professional
I've got
sense.
like quite a big leather belt.
You can,
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think.
No, I know what you mean. I do agree with you. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But also, like, I think if you take things out of context, like, imagine if you went to like, or if you listened to the things that a football manager screamed at players from the sideline.
Oh my God, yeah.
You'd think,
what an
that's
abusive
abuse.
bastard.
What are you doing? But like, there's a kind of like a dynamic there where it works, and I 100% agree. In certain kitchens,
yeah.
The problem is you get unhinged people, and and then it's abuse, and
you get people, I think, as well, who are unhinged, who see that environment and they're like, oh great, I can like really fucking throw my weight around and be an asshole in this place.
But I would also say I worked in some kitchens that were like super chiller and everyone went by their first name, and it didn't mean that there wasn't people like bullying each other.
Totally.
It's just like, which is bad.
Yeah.
But it's human beings, and like that dynamic can crop up even in an environment that's been engineered to be perfect.
Sure. Yeah.
In the same way that a kind of yes chef behind you, kitchen can be a harmonious place to work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I think you're totally right. You get those very strict yes chef places that are actually also really calm and respectful. And I was always pretty lucky. I had a good time in those kind of places.
When you arrived, did they say, we all say we chef? or does it just like you hear a couple of others say it and
you
just get involved?
hear a couple of people
Yeah.
say it, and you're like, oh, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Is it weird? I get my girlfriend to say "we chef" to me in the kitchen at home.
No,
Is
I
that
think it's
weird?
good.
You should get her to say it in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh yeah. Yeah. I
This is
fucking
nice.
wish we could get in the bedroom.
But-
Anyways,
Yeah, behind
yeah.
chef.
I'd say that in the bedroom.
yeah.
You were seemingly obviously loving being a chef, and you obviously worked at a couple of incredible other places. So how did you get lured into mob?
Lured is such a good word.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like leading the witness, right?
And how's the
Yeah.
how's Ben's spring lasagna?
No,
It's delicious.
It's,
Okay, good.
yeah.
Better hot, but
Especially
actually
like
better
made
cold,
with your feet on the floor just then.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Genius.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you know, at
Sidestepping,
Koya,
like
they
you were
kind of
earlier.
press the noodles with their feet. It's that kind of thing I've just done down there.
It's really nice. Thank you.
Sorry.
Can you ask me that again? I was thinking about the lasagna.
lured to mob.
Oh yeah.
Again, leading the witness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was in true mob style. It was actually just a DM on Instagram.
Really?
From Ben? Is that
I think it must have been. Yeah. And I didn't really do social media before I worked at Mob. Like I had an Instagram account, and I would sometimes put pictures up of stuff that I'd been making at work or making at home. Maybe a little story about it. But I didn't really like use social media in a big way, and I had no aspirations whatsoever to like make things for social media or anything like that.
When that DM came in, just quickly, what was your day today? What were you doing then? Working somewhere?
I was working at... Where was I working? I was working at Burro e Salvia on Red Church
Yeah,
Street.
yeah. Okay.
And
And the DM comes in.
the DM came in. Yeah.
It's not a full frontal nude from a girl. It's Ben.
Yeah, it was just Ben. No, so his was only topless, and it was just like wanna work at Mob. He'd like done it in pen.
Yeah, nice.
No,
Classy.
no, it was just the DMs, and it was. I think they'd probably sent it to a few people where they'd seen them cooking things and were like, oh, they look like, you know, we like the look of whatever they're doing. Let's see if they maybe want to come and work as a recipe developer at Mob. And so it was a message like along those lines. And I didn't know a huge amount about Mob at that point. I think simply because I wasn't its target audience. Like I was working in restaurants as a cook, and it was, I mean, it still is now, but even more so then, it was very much geared towards like young people, students, maybe people who were like just getting into cooking and maybe whatever, going off to university. And so I didn't know a lot about it simply because I wasn't like looking for that kind of thing at that point. And when they first got in touch, my kind of initial reaction was actually no, like I wasn't interested, because it was kind of so far removed from anything I'd ever thought of doing.
Yeah.
Not because I like hated them or anything like that. It was just like, I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And then I kind of thought about it a bit more. And I think by that point I'd worked in restaurants for long enough to know that I didn't want to open my own restaurant. I didn't want to work my way up to being the exec chef of somebody else's restaurant group. And I was interested in working in food, but seeing what that could look like in different capacities. So like writing about food or filming or traveling or learning. I'd become really interested in like why people eat what they eat, basically. And so I spoke to a few friends. I spoke to friends who worked a bit more in food media. I also spoke to like chefs that I'd worked for in restaurants. And I said, you know, what do you think about this? Do you think I should go for it? And surprisingly, even chefs who I thought might be quite like snooty about Mob were really like, oh, you should go for it. That could be great. Because
Really?
I was really
nice,
surprised.
yeah.
And because the whole thing that kind of everyone was saying is they were like, even if that immediately isn't your cup of tea, it's going to take you in the direction of things that you might want to work in. And so I did go through the process and applied, and I ended up getting the job, and I went to work there. And then I did like it, and I stayed for, you know, like a year and a half. And
why did you leave?
I left because I think, so I worked there for a year and a half, and I think that kind of a year and a half to 2 years seems to be like the natural lifespan of a recipe developer at Mob.
Yeah.
Mostly simply because of the nature of the job. It gets to a point after that kind of time period where it doesn't necessarily make sense to be making recipes for someone else for mob.
Yeah.
Like in a roundabout where you kind of got a triangle. So say you're making, I suppose there's kind of two different ways that we would work. We would either be doing a recipe for a client. So it could be like, I don't know, Barilla pasta or Napolina tin tomatoes. But it would be, I'd be doing like 3 recipes for Napolina tin tomatoes for mob. And then it gets to the point where it's like, I could just do recipes for Napolina tin tomatoes. And I don't need to be doing them for.
They're sort of benefiting from the audience growth. You're not really.
Yeah, I guess it just reaches like a saturation point.
But there has been a great exodus. You, Ben, Seema, Sophie.
Yeah, and I think in pretty much all of those cases, it is just when you hit that time point. It's when you hit that like 1.5, 2 year time point, and you've built, I suppose, an audience of your own via mob, and then you have all of these clients and brands reaching out to work directly with you, and that's when it reaches a tipping point of like making sense to go it alone and work directly.
But also
with
COVID was a great gift to mob, and also people who didn't know about food.
Yeah, for sure.
I've mentioned my brother on this podcast before, but he was never interested in food. Now he'll make interesting food where it's normally you just put something in the fucking microwave,
which is really cool.
Probably down to mob.
Yeah, that's really cool.
There must have been now post-COVID maybe a slight change of consumption, maybe, or maybe not.
I mean, that like the example you've just given with your brother is like one of the big reasons that I actually took the job is because once I actually sat down with Ben and spoke to him and listened to why he'd started mob in the first place, I really liked the idea. And it was like, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a businessman and it needed to be like a viable business model, and it is. But I liked the ethos behind it of this idea of actually encouraging people who maybe like weren't that confident in the kitchen to like have a go. You know, even if it was just basic food, even if it was just something that like maybe as a chef in a restaurant wouldn't find very exciting or they'd even find obvious. For a lot of people, that kind of cooking is not obvious, especially if you've not had someone teach you how to do it. And so when Ben was telling me about this, I was like, yeah, I fuck with that. Like, that's a really good idea to just like encourage people to have a go, just to try cooking and hopefully enjoy it. And so that, so I ended up taking the job.
But you must have created hundreds of recipes, if not thousands. Some controversial, I'm sure. Have you ever got any abuse from people? Get so angry about food, don't they, Ben? I mean,
they do.
Yeah.
Can you remember getting like a bad day where just people went fucking ape shit?
I think it's not. I know it's not so exciting, but actually no. And I think maybe part of the reason is that like right from the beginning, I've mitigated that ever happening by trying to be incredibly sensitive to this idea that for a lot of cultures in the world, food is really important. It's not to British people. No. It just isn't. It's not a backbone of our culture. We don't like proudly display our food to the world and get excited about people coming to our country to eat our food, and we don't write about it and we don't tell stories about it, and it isn't like deeply ingrained in our culture. It doesn't represent us as a people. In a lot of parts of the world, it does. And I've tried to always be quite sensitive to that and try and like, I suppose just, I think do 2 things. One is I'm actually pretty comfortable like staying in my lane when it comes to cooking. Like I don't have any fucking business teaching someone how to make Vietnamese food or Sichuan food or Peruvian food, right? I'm not from those countries. I'm not from those cultures. I don't understand those cuisines, those ingredients. I just don't have the depth and knowledge of those cultures.
But London is the best city for food in the world. You wrote yourself that, you know, most people have to take a 12-hour flight to have good food from other countries. For Londoners, you can get on the cheap. So in many ways, we don't need to show off whatever British food is because especially as Londoners, you're living in the world in a city, right?
We've got good food from everyone else.
Magpies. We're like fast and loose. We just take
and there's so many great places to go.
And I think that like the reason that is the truth is because we have people from all of those places here cooking their food, which is really cool. But for me, I'm not a big fan of those recipes that are I'm not going to do like an easy Thai 10-minute noodle dish where I've just like skimmed a couple of ideas from this cuisine that I don't really understand to put something a bit mid together. And so I think by avoiding that, I've actually avoided any like real like shitstorms online.
We wanted the story of you getting it. But,
I know.
I know. That is a great answer.
Yeah, it's great. And you're making great food. We're sort of going to... sorry. You're making great food. We're going to go to your go-to food, followed by your go-to locations. Quickfire-ish. Starting off with your go-to delivery order. What is it?
Indian.
Nice.
Easy.
No, but what's the order?
Oh, what's the order? My favourite's a chicken jalfrezi.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Rice, naan, the whole works.
Yeah, rice and naan.
Yeah.
Rice and naan. Love a little like spinach side. Maybe some raita, maybe some like onion bhajis. Yeah. But I really, really enjoy Indian food, and I actually just love it. I just love it. That's a real like a childhood kind of cool food memory.
King of the takeaway.
Getting the takeaway.
Yeah.
Dish that you cook most midweek.
Pasta.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy. I eat pasta probably like 5 or 6 times a week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Fresh?
And just kind of
No, almost never fresh.
just working through the fridge, like what's there.
Yeah,
kind of making
yeah, most
a
of the
sauce
time.
or a ragu or a quick. Yeah.
Yeah, most of the time it's like, what veggies have I got in the fridge?
Yeah.
And am I going to make them taste nice with like some anchovies or a little bit of sausage or, some garlic and oil, which I think is how most people cook pasta.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Italy.
100%.
A quick side note as well,
Go on.
another conversation I had with a friend the other day. If you tell someone that you eat rice every day, no one really bats an eyelid, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're from a country where they eat rice every day. If you tell someone that you eat pasta every day, they think you're quite weird.
Agreed.
Yeah. That's so true.
That's so unhealthy. Why are you eating pasta every day?
Weird, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
People need to put that away.
Yeah.
Put that
Pasta's good.
Stop
Just
abusing
a
pasta.
funny thought.
Yeah, very true.
What is your go-to meal deal combination? I mean, you've been a philosopher for the last hour and 10 minutes talking us through everything, but we're going to say, what's your meal deal combination?
Fucking hell. I hate meal deals, man.
Yeah.
They're so clapped.
They
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
But come on, you're at a service station, you're hungover, you haven't had time for your fry up.
Do you know what? When I'm a real cheapskate when it comes to meal deals, all I try and do is squeeze the most possible value out of the deal. I'm like, what's the most expensive sandwich?
Feels great.
What's the most like expensive smoothie that I would never normally buy? But how do I like, how do I get?
You're in for a fiver, but you want to get like £12 of value.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
That's
right,
all.
okay.
I'm gunning for like the
There's
posh
no better
crisp.
feeling
I
in this
want
world we
that.
live in now
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
cost of living crisis. And doing
Then
that.
just like,
Sucking it to the man.
you feel like
Yeah.
you've won.
Yeah, you don't even need to eat it. You just sort of
Just
shove
buy
it
it.
off in your fridge and sort of praise it. Yeah.
What would I actually get? I'd probably try and just like keep it pretty simple. Maybe like a BLT,
Yes.
a green smoothie, and then like some posh crisps.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Go-to spice or ingredient, kind of in the dry stores. What's your like most grabbed?
In the dry stores. So I can't say lemon.
No, you can say a lemon. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd put lemon juice on it.
That was yours,
Yeah, no.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Lemon. You famously said you've always got a lemon up your sleeve.
I do.
Which I thought was
or in
beautiful.
my pocket.
Yeah,
Best
or
way
in
to
your
keep-
pocket.
Best place to keep it.
Yeah, for 100%.
I think probably maybe for the same reason that you like to put lemon on everything. I think so often that not salt is the missing element of so much cooking is acidity.
Acid, 100%.
Yeah.
Your go-to random fridge or snack combination. It's sort of in between meals. What are you putting together as like a weird snack combo?
I do this thing where I open the fridge and I definitely get this from my dad as well. I take out a piece of cheese, like could be Parmesan, could be cheddar, could be whatever, maybe like Comté if you're lucky enough to have a little bit of something good in there. And I cut just like chunks from it, and then I put something on top, that something else I've got in the fridge on top of it. So like it could be an anchovy, a little slice of sausage, could be a gherkin. But that's like a real, I reckon I do that sometimes multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Just between something
And
else.
it always works, no matter what it
yeah.
is. That's the weird thing.
I
Forget
will-
the taste thesaurus.
Yeah. You don't,
The cheese
Just putting things
topping
together in your
thesaurus.
fridge, two random things. It
Yeah.
always
It's
works.
unbelievable.
that's it though. It's
What
just,
about like a dry combo, like
little-
outside the fridge?
So the other thing that you can do once you've cut your little chunk of cheese from whatever block of cheese you've got is you can put it on top of a crisp or between two crisps.
Yeah.
Like a crisp cheese
Mini
sandwich.
sandwich.
That's real good.
What about if you were leaving the fridge alone, maybe something from the fruit bowl? Anything crazy like that?
Ooh, I mean any fruit.
Banana and...
Yeah.
What does banana
Peanut
give?
butter.
I don't really fuck around with my fruit. I just like
Really?
raw
Banana
raw
and-
dog it straight from
Yeah.
the bowl.
What about
Yeah.
banana and Marmite?
Ooh.
What you-
Maybe there is British food culture after all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you said that on a previous interview. I'm trying to look
Oh, you
up.
trying to leave
Yeah,
right?
Did I?
Yeah.
God, I make up some
You said
shit. to try
banana
and
and
sound good on
Marmite.
the
You've gone
podcast.
deep on the internet.
I actually do know where that comes from. You're right. That is something that my stepdad used to make.
So go on, say it in full so I can clip it up and go viral.
He would, I think this is what he would do. take a piece of toast, spread it with butter.
Wait 1 second. Let me just prelude that better.
Yeah.
Do you have any other? Do you have any other weird go-to snack combinations?
Yeah, a thing that I eat all the time.
Stop it.
I've never eaten this.
No.
A thing that I actually, what did he used to do? Fuck, it's so weird. So, all right, I'm pretty sure it was this. Take a piece of toast, and then I think with a fork, mash a ripe banana onto the toast, so it's almost spreadable. And then, or maybe spread the Marmite first, and then put a ripe banana on top, and then kind of
Marmite
mash
and
it with a
banana?
fork. Yeah,
You're crazy.
yeah. That was the thing. That was the thing.
We'll have to try that.
Where's this man from?
Cornwall.
I don't want to say anything. I mean, like, wow.
Yeah.
I'd try it tonight.
Forget
sure.
the mackerel.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe it was a mackerel-less day out on the fishing boat, and he's like, "What else have I got?
What else have we got?
Yeah, I got a banana."
Yeah.
No, that's fair play to him. Locations?
Well, should we do guilty pleasure quickly?
Yeah, go on then. What's your guilty pleasure?
Marmite and banana.
Marmite banana, fair play. Right, we're going to fire through the go-to locations. Your go-to weeknight restaurant, nothing fancy, but you keep going back.
I don't have one.
You never go to a weeknight restaurant?
Like a regular one that I've returned to.
No, just like somewhere you go casually for a meal. It's not special.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say I'm not a good regular customer. How unloyal of me. What is a nice?
Where's somewhere nice in London for a casual meal?
Where do I really like to go for a casual meal? God, this is one of those like things where if you say somewhere nice, everyone will think you're like,
Oh, mate, they're not going to judge you.
like a twat because
You've got a year and a half without getting abused doing mob recipes. You're going to be
Yeah.
fine.
Where do I like to go for a casual meal? Fuck.
Okay, forget casual meal. Favourite place for a special supper?
Bouchon Racine.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Incredible, right?
Yeah, banger.
And
Or Noble Rock.
What's the best thing on the menu at Bouchon Racine?
Not sure. It's
all
all good,
It's all
and I think it changes quite a lot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to suggest something and then someone goes and they don't have it.
Okay.
It's pretty foolproof though.
get
Noble
down to Bouchon
Rot
Racine.
as well. Noble Rot's real good for a special occasion. I don't eat
True.
out. I don't eat out in restaurants casually very often.
No.
I usually like go out,
Yeah.
and have a nice one occasionally. And I don't think I do a lot of like. I just cook at home a lot.
Yeah,
I cook at home
nice.
so much
That's fair.
that I don't really.
Do you have a little hidden gem?
I 100% do, and I just cannot think of them.
No.
I probably got about 10.
But that's a
and I
good way
just
to
can't
keep it
think of
hidden.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, keep it hidden. What about your dream long weekend getaway?
I'd be so shit on that top drawer thing.
No, you'd be fine.
Hidden dream
Your dream
Say
long
that
weekend
again.
getaway, where are you going?
Dream long weekend getaway. Man. You know what's a real good one? It's just Paris.
Mm-hmm.
You can just take a train.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a train, you can eat loads of good food, and then you can come back again.
Agreed.
It's not not revelatory, that one.
No,
But
but
Paris.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard of it. It's like
Yeah, it's quite near here, isn't it? Well, relatively. I think we're going to go into the Deli dish.
Deli dish of the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
From your little goodie bag.
Deli Steady
This-
Cook.
You made this really easy for me.
Too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that's great because you could have really fucked me. You could have given
I
me
know.
like
I wanted it to be nice.
a spanner and a courgette.
But I also wanted it to maybe be some stuff that when you get home you might use.
I will use
Yeah, there you
happily
go.
use all of that.
If you could take us down the mic and tell us what you're going to make, Jordan.
Let me open up this Deli with 2 L's bag.
Yes. And you can use the code GoTo Deli to get 25% off.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, Queen Butter Beans, Bold Bean Co. Can't go wrong. They're ready to go. We've got the palm.
Pepe's palm.
This tuna is so good. I mean, the thing is, like, with these really good,
You
like,
could always just sort of put them together.
you can. Like,
Yeah.
those really good, especially like Spanish and Portuguese, tinned and jarred beans and fish, which is what you've given
Yeah,
me.
it is, yeah.
They just excel in both of those categories.
You're telling me you could buy that all from Deli and just make an incredible meal without having to do anything else?
Correct. Maybe warm up the beans.
Deli
Yeah,
with
maybe
2
a drizzle
L's.
of olive oil.
Yeah. That is like almost in order. You could just kind of like drain your beans, maybe dice up a little shallot, quick pickle it in a little bit of vinegar,
Oh,
a little bit of oregano maybe, mix that through the beans, and then I would put the tuna on top with the olives, lots of lemon juice, olive oil,
mangiare.
and then
Dusty
and then you
bomb.
could even add a little sprinkle.
Just a sprinkler pepper.
Just a little
Bit of
sprinkle of
Pepe
pepper
on top.
A little bit of Pepe's palm on top. Why
Yeah.
not?
Jordan, you've been absolutely incredible. We're going to ask our guests to rate this podcast 5-star, leave a comment, but we're going to finish off by getting your go-to 3-course meal. Quickfire, Jordan, and I know you don't like doing quickfire,
I'm so bad.
but
at
you've got to
quick
think of quickfire. Starter, main, pud, what are you having?
fire. Okay, starter. I'm gonna have a vitello tonnato.
Delicious.
Main course, I might have a big steak tartare and chips.
Oh,
Dessert. That's one place that British cuisine excels, man. Good
Great.
dessert.
We're good at
having
desserts,
a sticky
yeah.
toffee pudding with
Yes.
custard. Yeah, sticky toffee
That's
pudding.
probably the greatest 3-course. It's making me hungry again. I'm going to have some of that spring lasagna. Jordan, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Good luck for everything you're doing. Obviously, get involved in Jordan's Substack, follow him on Instagram, and I'm sure you're going to be popping up somewhere to do some cooking
I hope
sometime
so.
soon.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Jordan, those are your go-tos. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your incredible story with us so far. Guys, don't forget to leave a great comment, rating, all the rest. And thanks to Deli for sponsoring, and we'll see you all again next week.
Thank you for having me.
thanks, Jordan.
Cheers. Nice one.